page. But what's important for us as a community is always to try and be the best that we can be. If you're a student, try and be the very best student that you can be. Get good grades, be a good leader, get involved in student activities. If you're a business owner, be a fair business owner. Don't take advantage of the customers. If you're a worker, be the best worker that you can be for your company. As a politician, I know I always try to be the very best councilman or mayor that I can be. I want everyone to know that Armenians can be very, very productive. They can be very impactful on the community in a positive way. And if we all keep that in mind, I'm sure that our community will continue to grow and continue to gain respect, not just in Glendale, but throughout Southern California.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Look into people's eyes. Սիրելի հեռուստադիտողներ, Exclusive Plus հոտովոդը շարունակում է աշխատանքը ներողություն այդ դատարի համար։ Քիչ առաջ խոսում ենք, թե ինչքան Cleveland-ում, որտեղից որ պարոն Նաջարյանն է, այնտեղ հայեր շատ քիչ կա, եւ ասում եմ, որ նույն փորձառությունը ես ունեի, երբ որ նայում եի մարդկանց աչքերին, որպեսզի տեսնեի, որ հայ են, որքանով են հայ, եւ այդ անմիջական կապն է հաստատվում. Going back to that, like being an Armenian in a not very strongly Armenian populated setting, how did you feel? And when you moved to Glendale, what was the experience like?
In Cleveland, in Ohio, there were very few Armenians, Anush, maybe 100 families. With a name like Ara Najarian, amongst my classmates of Scott Smith and Doug Jones and Bob Horner, they really looked at you like weird. Not in a bad way. They had no preconceptions about Armenians.
No.
But well, who? What? Ara? What kind of name is that? So my parents really instilled in me the point that I had to be the very best. I tried as hard as I could to get the good grades, to be captain of the football team,
correct,
to be a student council president, and inform them of the genocide, educate them. So it was a challenge. I think I made a good impact. To this day, people, my classmates, they hear something about Armenians and they send me an email. Oh,
So you have instilled in them what is it to be a good Armenian. And then when you came to Glendale and you saw basically Armenia outside from Armenia, what kind of feeling was that?
It was so unusual because I personally was exposed at that point to so many of the different parts of our larger Armenian community, from the Armenians from Iran, from Lebanon, from you name it, Iraq, Hayastan. And I began to get an appreciation of all the different subcultures that we have in the Armenian community. But I wouldn't go and grab someone. If I was in the Galleria and I heard them speak Armenian, I wouldn't go and grab them and say, oh, in Ohio, we used to do that. Believe it or not, you heard someone across the street or in a store speaking Armenian, oh my God, you'd go and you'd attack them. I'm Armenian too. Here, I think we started to take it for granted as to who we are and the fact that we've come from a homeland half the world away and we've settled here. It really is a wonderful thing that we've come together as a community and that people see us as the diasporan capital.
Diasporan capital of Armenia, and you represent the diasporan capital of Armenia right now.
Yes, I do.
What do you think is the biggest contribution that you have done for the Armenians, for your own kind?
I'm hoping, Anush, that I've set a role, an example, a role that I've been a role model for our younger children, for our students, and for our young adults that want to become involved in American society and American government and politics and leadership roles, that they can look up to me as I did to those in front of me, like the Larry Zarians and the George Dukmajians. They inspired me, and I'm hoping that I'm inspiring our youth to come forward and realize that you too can take a leadership role. You are bright. We've got a great culture and rich heritage behind us. The details of any question that or agenda that you want to push forward aren't so important. The fact is that you are honest, you're ethical, and that you work hard to represent not just the Armenian community, but the entire community as a whole. as an American Armenian.
And politics, being ethical, being a good human being, does this, in a way, sometimes exclude each other?
Well, in politics, there's a lot of pressure.
What was the biggest sacrifice that you had to make in order to succeed in politics, but it took away some of your values?
I'll tell you, the very worst thing about being in politics is having to go and ask people for money. You feel like a beggar. You have to tell them that you're running for election, but you need money to get elected. So please give me money. It's not much different than what a beggar does. And the next issue becomes, if they give you money, don't these people have expectations of you to favor them, to give them votes, to give them tips, to help them when they have an issue? And that's the biggest problem. You hate to ask them for the money, and you hate to have their issues come before you, even if they're very indirect, because in the back of your mind, you know, oh my gosh, this person gave me
So you don't return the favors?
No, you can't do that. You have to be very strong, and it is sometimes very difficult to do that. To say, I'm not gonna have their contribution.
That's what ideally you shouldn't do. But
ideally, that is
and
what
in
you
reality
shouldn't
also.
do. In reality, I try to do that. Every single decision I make, I try and make sure that the only facts that I'm thinking about are the facts on the particular issue. Forget that they're
So you're trying
friends.
to be unbiased.
You have to be unbiased.
Okay.
Otherwise, you fall into that circle.
And you're not running this year. Why not?
I am not
What's
running
next
this
for you?
year. My next election, if I run for Glendale City Council again, is in 2 years. And that would make it 8 years on the City Council for me. And I so much enjoy representing the city of Glendale. I wouldn't mind looking at a higher position if something opens up. As I said, we always have to continue to improve, and I think that would be a logical step.
Okay.
It would be to go forward. I don't know what that step is. I would be happy to remain a Glendale City Councilman, but we always have to keep our eyes open and always try to improve ourselves.
And you're a lawyer, very successful lawyer, and you went into this. Why?
Yes.
Very briefly.
Sometimes I wonder why. Because the service to the community pays far more better in terms of personal enrichment than any paycheck or any salary that you can receive through running your own business.
Thank you. Short commercial break. And we have a traditional question from the sponsor of the show that makes it possible to make this show happen. What was your first car?
My very first car was a 1972 Buick Skylark.
And what was the most amazing memory that you have with it?
Driving through a snowstorm in Cleveland where the snow was falling so hard that my windshield wipers froze.
Now that's interesting.
That was a very interesting, yes, a very interesting experience.
Well, thank you very much. Սիրելի հեռուստադիտողներ, օդովոդը շարունակում է գործել 81824611110 հեռախոսահամարով, բայց անդրադառնանք ընտրություններին. We have the elections in 3 days, April the 5th. Why is it important to vote?
It's important, Anush, that we vote, number one, because it's our civic duty. The votes that you cast decide who is going to lead this city. You need to look at all the candidates from top to bottom and decide which one of them shares the same values that you do, has the same vision for the city that you do, and vote. Because if you don't vote, others will vote, and their voice will become louder than your voice.
Սիրելի հեռուստադիտողներ, ընտրությունները ապրիլի 5-ին են. Thank you very much. Անպայման մասնակցեք ընտրություններին, որպեսզի մենք ներկայացված լինենք եւ քաղաքը կարողանանք պահպանենք։ Իսկ Auto World-ը շարունակում է գործել, մենք ձեզ ներկայացնում ենք հատուկ ծրագրերը, եթերում ենք ամեն շաբաթ օր ժամը 12:30։